Welcome to Wellness 7000.
You can't scroll your feed these days without bumping into someone talking about weight loss, jabs, celebrities, influencers, even your next-door neighbor. It feels like everyone's trying them. What's making these injections so popular all of a sudden, Nick?
Social media is definitely amplifying the buzz, but honestly, it's not just hype about 15 million Americans tried a weight loss drug last year. That's roughly 12% of the US adult population, if you can believe it. And here in the UK, NHS estimates put the number at 1.5 million. The craze is real.
That's wild. But the real surprise for me is how much of this is happening privately. Over 90% of people in the UK are paying out of pocket, right? And the price tag's not tiny £100 to £350 a month is a serious chunk of change.
Exactly. And for a lot of folks, that's a huge financial stretch. But you know what's even more interesting? In the US, the costs can actually be even higher, and insurance rarely picks up the bill. So, people are digging deep into their own wallets for these drugs.
That actually makes me wonder, Nick, how are people in the States justifying these costs? Isn't it out of reach for most, given how pricey those injections are over there?
It's a tough call for many. These new GLP-1 inhibitors, like semaglutide, can help people lose up to 20% of their body weight, so the demand is through the roof. But with more than 40% of Americans classified as obese, and most insurance plans refusing to cover the drugs, it becomes an impossible choice for some.
Honestly, it feels unfair, especially since obesity rates tend to be higher in less affluent communities, but they're the ones who have the least access to these treatments. That's a pretty glaring gap.
It really is. And people are talking about whether it even makes sense. Shouldn't those with the most need get first dibs? But right now, it's often the opposite. The ones who could benefit most can't afford it. And that's fueling a heated debate over access and equality.
Pivoting to the UK for a second, it's tempting to think the NHS would level the playing field. But it sounds like there are a lot of strings attached to getting these jabs on prescription. What's the deal with that?
The NHS does prescribe a couple of these drugs, specifically Wegovy and Mounjaro, but the rules are pretty strict. You need a BMI over 35, plus a related health condition like diabetes, to even be considered. For Mounjaro, the bar's even higher, starting at a BMI of 40, so most people don't qualify.
So even if you're desperate to try a jab, unless you fit those criteria, you're looking at paying privately. No wonder most people end up shelling out their own cash.
That's right, and with prices pushing £400 a month in some cases, the cost barrier is massive. It's no surprise experts are warning that this could push health inequalities even further apart.
What's really bothering me, Nick, is this idea of a two-tier system popping up a kind of health divide between those who can buy these drugs and those who can't. Are you seeing signs of that already?
It's happening. Service providers have shared stories about people going into debt to afford these jabs, or not being able to finish the full course because the cost is just too much. And the people hit hardest are often in communities where obesity rates are double those of wealthier areas.
That's heartbreaking, honestly. And then, when you look at the bigger picture, NHS budgets are stretched to the max. It's easy to see how the system ends up favoring those who already have more.
Exactly. And it's not only a medical issue. There's a whole discussion here about food deserts, sedentary lifestyles, and how your postcode can dictate your health outcomes as much as your DNA.
All of this leaves me wondering, is there any real path forward? With prices so high and demand only growing, is anyone optimistic about fixing these access issues?
Market analysts I've spoken with are cautiously hopeful. Over 150 new weight loss drugs are in clinical trials right now. If more hit the market, competition should drive prices down, and the NHS, with its huge negotiating power, could make these drugs accessible to many more people in a few years.
Let's hope so, because it sounds like a lot of people are waiting for that breakthrough. Until then, we'll keep an eye on the research, and maybe keep our running shoes handy, just in case.
Honestly, a brisk walk costs nothing and comes with zero side effects.
Thanks for joining me on Wellness 7000.